play. 2 men out, and here is Thurman Munson. Hit .302 this year, 17 home runs, 105 runs batted in. At a great championship series, 10 for 23, a .435 average. Takes a strike, fastball. Goes in 3 runs. Thurman Munson. One of a couple players on that Yankee ball club. Many feel most valuable player. There's what Casey Stengel used to call a 55-foot curveball, Tony.
Get Yogi to swing at those guys up until 2 strikes.
And get a base hit with it. Yogi said, I wasn't a bad ball hitter. I was a bad ball swinger. One ball, 2 strikes on Thurman Munson. There is Yogi. Coach with Billy Martin. Yankee teammates. One-two pitch. Outside. Listen to all the umpires.
Joe, everyone knew the Yankees were going to win it this year back in spring training when they hired Yogi. Said with his luck, they're in.
Lou Piniella said, Yogi, I don't care where you go, I'm going with you. 2-2 pitch. Low, ball 3. He is throwing hard. The reason I say that, not only do you see it, but Johnny Bench has one of those loose-fitting gloves that just doesn't pop when you throw that fastball, but gullet is so fast that it really does pop. Look at that glove. You catch it in the webbing, it's like using a pair of pliers that may have been left out in the rain and got rusty. It just doesn't pop. Struck him out. 3-2 fastball, and he got him 2 strikeouts. 1-2-3 to go the bottom half of the first inning. Cincinnati coming to bat. Do it. Here's the man who usually starts it off for him. Pete Rose hit .323 this year. Takes a fastball outside, ball 1. 10 home runs, 63 runs batted in. He was 6 for 14 in the championship series, .429 average. Strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Nobody on, nobody out. Bottom of the first, no score. Two balls in the strike.
Joe and Marty, Mickey Rivers in center field for the Yankees is playing very shallow. He did the same thing against the Kansas City Royals. They do not have as much power as Cincinnati. He could get burned a lot of times up the alleys and over his head.
3 balls and 1 strike. He is shallow at that. Great speed. He can outrun the ball. Doyle Alexander. High fly ball, left center field. Roy White taking charge. Rivers moving over, and now Rivers takes it. Rose is out. Fly ball to Mickey Rivers, and it brings up Ken Griffey. Griffey hit .336, 6 home runs, 74 runs batted in. Stole 34 bases, 45 attempts. 5 for 13 in the championship series. I tell you, all these averages on both these ball clubs very high in that championship series. Strike 1, and certainly I know you join me in congratulating that Kansas City ball club and those Phillies. Kansas City especially, bottom of the 9th, a dramatic home run to lose it. Freddie Patek was our guest in the baseball world and still talking about it. Foul ball, 2 strikes.
Griffey won a whole lot, Marty, during the season?
Not a whole lot, Tony. He did maybe the last couple of weeks of the season when he was out in front of the batting race when he had passed Billy Matlock, and especially on our last road trip to the West Coast. He bunted a couple of times, but more often than not, Griffey will bunt on natural turf rather than the artificial surface.
He had a lot of infield hits, though, didn't he?
Had a total of 39 during the season.
Griffey up there with the count of 2 strikes. Griffey finished second to Matlock, .336, Matlock .339. Line drive left field, White's there. And he played perfectly, 2 up and 2 down, and here is Joe Morgan.
That is not the way Doyle Alexander wants to keep his pitches. That was a high changeup. He pitched high to Rose, and he's going to get hurt unless he gets the ball down.
Morgan hit .320, 27 home runs, 111 runs batted in, stole 60 bases in 69 attempts. He didn't get a hit in the championship series, but he walked 6 times. This guy can help you just dealing the cards on the plane. One ball, one strike. Doyle Alexander. Morgan has such a small strike zone, he controls it so well. Two balls, one strike. Cecil Upshaw, a pitcher, had a great description. He said, even if you throw a low strike, his eyeballs are still not too far from the ball. And he's right.
Don't see many guys with this kind of power, obviously. He's almost a strict pull hitter. Some left-handers will go the opposite way. He hasn't been swinging the bat well lately, he tells me. He's been having a little difficulty at the plate. Took some extra hitting practice. Uh-oh.
There she goes. Deep to right field. Could be out of here. 1-0 Cincinnati. That's his 3rd World Series home run. Joe Morgan.
Looks like a low sinking fastball. That is Doyle Alexander's strength to pitch slow, but the Cincinnati Ball Club is a low fastball hitting club. Unusual. Most clubs are basically high fastball hitting clubs.
Fastball outside to Tony Perez. Joe Morgan was a boxer. You'd have to say it was just a short knockout punch. It's just a very compact swing that he takes, but a lot of power. 2 balls, no strikes on Tony Perez. Did 260 in the regular season. 19 home runs, 91 runs batted in. That's his big strength. RBIs. Good fastball. 2 balls and a strike. The yardstick of the RBI man is, can he drive a man in from first base? They say Perez can drive him in from the clubhouse. 3-1.
There's just something about Tony. When a man gets in scoring position on base, he becomes a different kind of hitter. I think he maybe guesses a little bit more, looks for certain pitches, but he bears down with good on.
Up the middle, a base hit. Perez singles to center field.
A good point, as you saw Mickey Rivers' throw come in from center field. It was short to left center. He bounced the ball very weakly and off target. And you better believe the Reds are going to take advantage of those Yankee throwing arms sometime during this series.
Here is Dan Dreesen. And for the first time, a designated hitter in a National League lineup. Tony Perez is not a base-stealing threat, although he stole 10 out of 15. A good percentage. Ball 1. Chambliss is playing behind Perez. If he gets too far behind him, he ain't going to be there, Marty. There he goes. Here's Munson's throw. Got him. Perez is out. Munson to Stanley. That ends the inning, but the Cincinnati Reds take the lead on a Morgan home run, and watch this throw and tag.
They're checking out Munson's arm. He threw a lot better the last 2 games against the Kansas City Royals, but even now you saw the ball tail away toward right field. Good tag by Stanley.
So the score at the end of 1, Cincinnati 1, Yankees nothing. It doesn't take much for Billy to get upset. He'd start a fight in an empty elevator.
I got to believe he may just be trying to stir something up. That's typical Billy Martin. George Steinbrenner hired him because he knew he was a back alley fighter, a scrapper. Billy's starting the series off that way.
Here is Lou Piniella, count of ball 2. Piniella, the designated hitter. He hit .281 on the year. 3 home runs, 38 runs batted in. He was 3 for 11 in the championship series. Cincinnati out in front, 1-0, a home run by Joe Morgan. Don Gullett.
The Yankees think they can score a lot of runs, not necessarily off Gullett, but off the second-line pitchers. They think that's the vulnerable spot of the Cincinnati Reds. And they think on artificial surface, it'll be even a better hitting ball club.
Line drive down the right field line. It's a fair ball. Should be extra bases for Piniella. Heading for second. He'll hold on with a double. He hit that ball right where it was pitched.
Gullett will throw two different kinds of fastballs, one across the seam that rides or takes off, one with the seams that will sink. That appeared to be that sinking fastball, one that tails away from a right-handed hitter. Piniella went with it well.
Here's the man of the hour, Chris Chambliss. What a year he had. He's one of the couple of Yankees I mentioned could be the most valuable player in the American League. Hit 293, 17 home runs, 96 runs batted in. Takes a strike over the outside corner. Left-hand pitching doesn't bother this fella. He hangs tough. Fred Patek thinks he's the best hitter on the club, Tony.
Good, interesting statement he made on your Baseball World show before the game.
One ball, one strike. There you see a young Chris Chambliss with his bride, the wedding cake. Probably the only day in his life there was a happier one than the other night when he hit the home run.
He will not bail out against left-handed pitchers, as will Greg Nettles, as Gullett comes over the top pretty much.
Hot shot. Morgan has it. Chambliss is out. Piniella takes third. Chambliss gets the job done. Now, if he were a right-handed batter, Tony, somebody would say he's manager's material. He knows how to play.
He knows what to do with the bat when he's up there. I know that.
Here is Greg Nettles.
Sparky's going to bring his infield halfway this early in the ball game. Nettles can drive the ball. Infielders will have to make a decision. If they can get the runner at home plate, of course, Piniella does not run well.
Nettles led the American League in home runs with 32. Pickoff at third. Not in time. Boy, if you were thinking that anything's wrong with Bench's arm, that would certainly dispel all doubts.
Here's Piniella. Marty, does Bench throw a lot? Second base, third base pickoff situations?
Not a whole lot, Tony. They, of course, have a prearranged sign with, as the case was here with Pete Rose, that he's going to go that way, but you don't see it happen very often.
1-0 pitch. 1-1.
Had a good replay of Piniella getting back the last time, coming back to the bag wrong. He came in foul territory. He should be in fair territory where that throw might hit him in the back and block Rose's view. He's got a gazelle out there, obviously.
Managers always tell you to go back to fair territory. Block the view, you'll only get a concussion. Of course, they're seated in an air-conditioned dugout with padding. 1-1 pitch. High. 2 balls and 1 strike. Cincinnati leading 1-0. A home run by Joe Morgan. Nettles drove in 93 runs. Misses with a fastball, 3-1. And boys, you're going to look at some real cripple shooters in this game today. That whole Cincinnati ball club, and here's a guy who likes to take a shot at that 3-1, 2-0, 3-0 pitch.
I'd say the two best, this guy that played for the Yankees, Nettles, and Perez for Cincinnati.
High fly ball center field. It's going to be deep enough, way back on the warning track. Geronimo makes the catch, and here comes Piniella. We're all tied up. Sacrifice fly for Greg Nettles.
Marty, that ball carried well to dead center field. How does the ball carry in this park?
Well, that right there, Tony, very surprising because basically in this ballpark, if you're a pull hitter, whether you be left-handed or right-handed, you could have a fine year because it's a veritable jet stream down both foul lines. But when you get maybe 20 or 30 feet out from each line, you've got to hit the ball a ton. And that ball, as you said, did carry extremely well.
1 apiece. Here is Elliot Maddox. Strike. Went around, says Lee Wire. They play Maddox a shade towards right center field. Here's a shot of the defense. See Geronimo over right center. Bouncing ball, Rose comes in fast. Gets him. Maddox is out at first. That ends the inning. As we go to the bottom of the second, New York 1, Cincinnati 1. Play too bad when we play pretty good. He enjoys it. Here's Dan Dreesen.
Pretty historic right here. Dreesen, the first guy in a National League uniform to be in the designated hitter role.
There is George Steinbrenner, principal owner of the New York Yankees. Gabe Paul's seat next to him, but he was up there checking something. That ball's well hit right field. Rivers is going back. Going to have room. Makes the play. You know what I like about Sparky, Marty, and Tony? He doesn't make any bones about it. He says the World Series is center stage. I got an ego. I love it.
I don't think it was never more evident than it was last year in Boston, Joe. He loves people. He loves to talk. And I think when you make a comparison between Sparky and Casey Stengel, you're making the ultimate comparison.
And I'll tell you, we miss good old Case. George Foster. Foster, 121 runs batted in, led the league, hit 306 with 29 home runs. He can do more things to irritate other pitchers than anybody in the league, I believe, Marty.
I think we'll probably see it here sometime during the course of this game, maybe at this at-bat, Joe. He's constantly in and out of the batter's box, as you see him here, and it tends to, as you say, upset the pitchers.
Doyle Alexander with a count of 2 balls and no strikes. Three and 0. There he goes. And the Cincinnati Reds are giving that green light, 3-0. Boy, you can tell a load of Cincinnati bats before they come to the park. They're moving into crates. They're anxious to hit. There's a strike. 3 balls and 1 strike. We're all tied up in the bottom of the second. Yankees won. Reds won. There's Commissioner Kuhn talking to Gabe Paul in the blue suit. So they're complaining about something, and as soon as we find out, we'll pass it on to you. Left to right, it's Julian Goodman, NBC, Louis Kuhn, the commissioner, Gabe Paul, Chuck Feeney, the far right, National League president, Warren Giles, Bob Howard, the head on NBC, and Bill Salted. Gillette. So there's some kind of a complaint being registered as Foster draws the base on balls, and here is Johnny Bench. Could be a double play. Randolph 1 over to first. It is 1-4-3. That ends the inning, and as we complete 2 innings, it's the Yankees 1, Cincinnati 1. Now, all tied at 1 apiece. Hot smash, Concepcion has it. Easy out.
Seems like Venezuela has a market on great shortstops. Back from Chico Carrascal with the White Sox, then Luis Aparicio, and now this guy, David Concepcion. They do something right down there teaching those infielders.
Then they send him to Warsaw, huh?
They must.
Here is Fred Stanley, and what a pleasant surprise he's been. Takes a fastball low and inside. Fred Stanley for the year hit .238, 1 home run and 20 runs batted in. Not a power hitter. He lays the bat on the ball, hits it to the opposite field, and that's the way they got the defense set up. There's a strike. Geronimo is very short and in right center field. He'll not knock you out, Stanley, but he'll sting you to death. Tremendous job in the field. He blew that ball by him.
He sure did. Gullett in 75 and 76 had some injury problems. Fractured thumb in 75, shoulder problems this year. He is yet unsigned. He has not signed a Cincinnati contract.
And there's a pretty good commercial, a curveball, and it's the 3rd strikeout of the ball game for Gullett. Struck out Rivers to start the game, Munson, and now Stanley. Here is Mickey Rivers.
He can't wait to get his swings in, can he?
Oh.
He doesn't take anything. This whole ball club, the Yankee club, is a swinging ball club. The first pitch on, they're going after you.
They play Rivers as if he were a right-hand batter. Foster guards the line in left, and Rose way in tight at third. Morgan will have to hustle. Here's a throw. They got him. Morgan to Perez, gets Rivers and ends the top of the third. We go to the bottom half of the third. We're all tied. New York 1, Cincinnati 1.
The States that Mickey Rivers can run, play halfway. They didn't. They got him.
Slow curveball popped down along the third base line, and Nettles makes the play. That ball was thrown nice and soft, and that's the way Geronimo hit it. 1 out. Dave Concepcion hit .281 for the year, 9 home runs, 69 runs batted in. 2 for 10 in the championship series, and he scored the deciding run.
Tell you a lot about their hitting attack, the Cincinnati ball club, but they can send Concepcion up to bat 9th. Geronimo 8th. Geronimo 300.
Geronimo's hit .307, Tony, and Concepcion is hitting .281.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a curveball outside, ball 1. We're all tied, 1 apiece. We're in the bottom of the third. Trying to hit the outside corner, misses. There's 2 balls and no strikes. There's a fastball over. 2 balls and 1 strike. One man out, nobody on. Pete Rose, the on-deck batter. Line drive, base hit, left center field. This could be extra bases for Concepcion. He might try for 3. Rounding second. Here he comes. They're testing the arm.
Just before that pitch was thrown, that Yogi Berra, who is a relay man up to the box with a walkie-talkie, moved Mickey Rivers farther toward right center field. You see there how they took advantage of the arms. Randolph, actually the second baseman, went to left center field for the cutoff. His arm is stronger than Stanley's.
So it's a 3-base hit for Dave Concepcion. All tied, 1 apiece. Bottom of the third, here is Pete Rose, who tried to center field his first time up.
Infield halfway depth for the Yankees. Look out.
Kickoff. Close. Look at Sugar. Yankees like to try that play with a right-hand batter.
They say in the scouting reports, Marty, that you've seen that on this particular play, Nettles will actually get down on his knees at times in front of the bag and try to block the runner from getting back.
That's right, Tony, and our scouting report says the Yankees have pulled that play to pick a runner off of third successfully 9 times during the season.
1-0 pitch. High, ball 2. You know, as you watch Munson throw, especially on that last play, you hear batters hit the ball where it's pitched. Munson throws where it's pitched. If
like
he
an
catches it low, he throws it low. If he catches it high, he throws it high. Very quick release.
He can be very inaccurate.
Deep enough to center field. Rivers is going back. Concepcion tags up. He'll score easily. Cincinnati takes the lead 2-1. Sacrifice fly for Rose. Cincinnati bench. They got a lot of life. Pride, they call it. They like to win, want to win, know how to win. Here's Griffey. Foul ball. High curveball. He really jumped on it. Nettles at third base is moved in. There are 2 outs. Griffey tried to bunt the last time up. Ended up lining hard to Roy White.
So I've been watching Yogi down on the bench. He's got a little responsibility. He's the man who is moving the outfielders around. And apparently he's talking to Gene Michaels, who has the walkie-talkie.
There he is.
There's the walkie-talkie. That's Michaels. He is relaying something from guys up here where we are, near where we are, who also have walkie-talkies and defensive charts.
I think it's Jerry Walker, a former pitcher, and Bobby Cox, who are up in the press box. It's an idea George Steinbrenner put into use, having been a football coach. There is Michaels behind Yogi with the sheaf of papers and the walkie-talkie in his left hand.
Carl Keel also involved upstairs, former Montreal manager.
It'd be funny if they'd get Broderick Crawford on there.
10-4, good buddy.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Man, remember when Willie Mays once described baseball as saying, look, when they hit it, I catch it. When they throw it, I hit it. Now you got walkie-talkies, defensive charts. Popped up. Nettles and Stanley. Nettles taking charge. Makes the play. So that ends the inning, but the Cincinnati Reds take the lead. It's Cincinnati 2, Yankees 1. Take a replay of a conversation just held by Billy Martin, the man in the blue suit, Gabe Paul, and George Steinbrenner. Billy had registered a complaint earlier about something, and Gabe went over to talk to the commissioner. We still do not have an official report. We'll have it in a minute. He's coming back. And here's Marty Brenneman of the Cincinnati Reds for the play-by-play.
Thank you, Joe, and hello again, everybody. First pitch by Don Gullett to Roy White, leading off this Yankee 4th inning, is a fastball high. White takes a strike, a fastball at the letters. That evens the count at 1-1. Good defensive play on the part of Roy White, or against White, in the first inning. Had a hot shot to the glove side of Pete Rose. The ball bounced to Concepcion, and Davey threw him out. Don Gullett putting White in a hole with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on the foul back. The Yankees have had 1 base hit. That the leadoff double in the second by Lou Piniella. He scored the New York run. The Reds are out in front by a score of 2-1 here. One of the steadiest performers on this New York Yankee ball club. Gullett comes with a hard breaking ball, and the count evens at 2-2.
Marty White, one of the few Yankees, as we look at Munson in the on-deck circle, but White, one of the few guys who has a little patience at the plate. He can work you for a base on balls.
Gullett comes low, and for one of the few times today, he's gone a full count to a Yankee batter. Cincinnati left-hander has struck out 3 in the first 3 innings, has not yet walked a batter. But right now is as far as he can go with Roy White, a count of 3-2. 83 walks during the season for Roy White. This one will be out of play. Interesting, the comparison that you can make between the Reds and the Yankees. Cincinnati received 212 more walks in 1976 than did the New York Yankees, and I think one of the big factors there is the discipline at the plate of a guy like Joe Morgan. Consistently walks over 100 times every year. Gullett again with a payoff. There's Pete Rose, and that's 1 down.
White has hit the ball well. He got a ball inside and a little bit up from Gullett, almost directly at Pete Rose. Rose has good hands. He doesn't cover a whole lot of ground, but he does have good hands. He is really a battler.
Got great reflexes, Tony. The guy has done a super job for the Reds at third base. It was a gamble last year. People thought Sparky Anderson was crazy when he made the move early in the year, but it's been the thing, I guess, more than anything else. It solidified this ball club because it allowed George Foster to go to left field on an everyday basis. Thurman Munson struck out swinging in the first inning. Talked to Sparky Anderson about the key to beating the New York Yankees, and of course Mickey Rivers' name probably comes up more than any other, but you have to give a lot of credit to this man. He's great with men on base. He's had a super season, and as Joe mentioned earlier, has a good shot at the most valuable player award in the American League. Should be played by Griffey.
Boy,
Marty, it always seems that World Series time the shadows become a factor. Are they a factor in this ballpark?
Oh, they most definitely are a factor, Joe. I don't think so much in the outfield as we will probably see later on in this game when the sun starts to set behind the stadium. You're going to have first the plate in shadows, the mound in sunlight, and especially it's difficult when you've got a hard thrower like Don Gullett pitching. Here's a possessor of the only New York Yankee hit, Piniella, with a wrong field double to right. Gullett throwing strikes as he has from the outset.
Give you an example of what they think of Piniella's speed. All you got to do is look at Dave Concepcion. He is playing short left field.
1 ball and 1 strike. Lou Piniella, a native of Tampa, Florida, and that, of course, is the spring training home for the Cincinnati Reds. You got a shot there of the depth in which Davey Concepcion is playing Lou Piniella. Base is empty with 2 men out here in the Yankee 4th inning. It's 2-1 Cincinnati.
He's throwing hard, but he can get fastballs by Piniella. He swung way late. Wonder who he's pulling for.
That's Mr. Red.
Mr. Red.
Everyday visitor at Riverfront Stadium. Gullett trying for the 1-2-3 4th inning. And Piniella just a bit out in front on that pitch. You get a good shot at Riverfront Stadium. Cincinnati, of course, leading the major leagues in attendance in 1976, 2,629,000, which is 4th best in all of Major League Baseball history.
What's the population of Cincinnati?
Roughly in the corporate limits, about 500,000 people.
Unbelievable.
This whole town, though, everywhere you go, banners, I'm Reds hot. In fact, newspapers, when you picked it up, it looked like Cincinnati was going to win in 3. It's just a contagious thing. They're really behind their Reds here, aren't they?
Well, they like to think of this town as a baseball capital of the world, Joe, and I think it's a big, small town. I think it's the best way to describe Cincinnati. Wide of first, Perez. He waves Gullett off, and Don Gullett has another 1-2-3 inning. So here in Cincinnati, 3.5 innings have gone by in the first game of this World Series, and with the Reds coming to bat in Cincinnati as we move on to the Reds half of the 4th inning, Joe Morgan, who exploded one out of here to right field in the first inning off Doyle Alexander. Morgan, a picture of concentration at the plate. Alexander starting him off with an off-speed pitch that's low for a ball. The Reds, of course, have faced this guy some 5 years ago when he was brought up by the L.A. Dodgers. And in 3 appearances against Cincinnati and 1 relief appearance, the Reds hit him at will. 5 innings, 21 hits, 11 earned runs.
Look at that Yankee defense, Marty. They're really swinging around.
2 balls and a strike. They give Morgan just about all of left field.
Is that unusual?
Well, they're playing him, Joe, more radically than the National League outfield was played. Doyle Alexander right where he was in the first inning with Morgan when Joe played long ball. As you get a look at the New York Yankee outfield, in fact, the entire defense is overshifted to the right. With a foul back, Munson giving chase, but will not have a play. The count is full.
Morgan, a great fastball hitter. He has a lot of confidence in his ability not to have anybody throw the ball by him. He stands almost up in front of the plate at times, daring you to throw the fastball by him.
The position that Alexander got him in the first inning, Joe, of Tony, a very precarious spot for Doyle Alexander. Roy White there to play the fly ball to deep left center field, and there's one away. Tony Perez is 1 for 1. He singled to left center in the first inning, and then Sparky Anderson testing Thurman Munson early had Perez going with Danny Dreesen at the plate, and it was an easy out at second base.
He is going with a lot of slow stuff. Slow curve that time. He even pulled the string on Morgan on a 3-2 count. Again.
I tell you, I keep thinking of Bill Lee doing that last year, and Perez pulled that left field wall in behind third base.
Perez in a big hole at 2 strikes. The Reds leading the Yankees 2-1 in the bottom of the 4th inning.
That was a good shot of Munson, who gives the target with the glove. He just moved out. Let's see if he wastes this pitch to set up the 2-2.
Change up, wiggle of the fingers.
Bases as Roy White will have to go to the 330 mark in left field. Tony Perez getting off to a good start in this World Series as he has singled and doubled and as many times up.
An interesting way of pitching and playing a defense right there. Nettles was way off the line at third base. Roy White was in left center field. They pulled the string, daring him to pull the ball.
Tony, a lot of times when that happens, there's a shot of as it gets by Nettles, is that sometimes a pitcher will change on his own. I know when I was with the Cardinals, Kurowski always wanted to know when the change of pace was coming so he could guard the line. You can't play way in a hole and then throw a change of pace. They'll pull it right down that line as the bullpen gets busy. There is Dick Tidrow.
So the Reds, who lead by a run, have Tony Perez at second base with 1 down, and the designated hitter Danny Dreesen up. Slow breaking ball is in for a strike. Dreesen has had some experience as a designated hitter. He led the Puerto Rican League in batting last winter and at times was used as a designated hitter. No balls and 2 strikes. Tony Perez at second base. The Reds have now had 4 hits off Alexander. As you pointed out, Tony, going with a lot of off-speed pitches to just about everybody in the Reds lineup.
Maybe it's his fastball. Maybe he just didn't throw it very hard.
Dreesen levels a bat as Alexander checks Perez at second base. Two out. We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
KGW-TV, Channel 8, Portland.
A look at the crowd at Riverfront Stadium as Cincinnati now hopes for a 2-out base hit from their left fielder, George Foster.
Doyle Alexander has been in the National League, and he has pitched against the Cincinnati Reds. He has not done too well.
Foster, the recipient of a second-inning walk. Pitch is over the plate, but low for ball 1. Well, at the plate right now, as we look at Doyle Alexander, the 2 guys who were voted their respective players of the year in the National League and American League by the Sporting News, George Foster and Yankee catcher Thurman Munson. 2 balls and no strikes. You see that unique hand action on the part of George Foster. It's almost impossible to duplicate, Joe. You have to see it, and you immediately know what people are referring to.
You've got to be the junior welterweight champion to keep doing that.
He's defying the pitcher. Who was it, Joe? You said in our meeting yesterday if he tried that against Bob Gibson, what might happen? He'd drill him, wouldn't he?
Gibson would have tested his ribs. He'd have taken about 40 calories right out of his ribs. I know some other guys. The late Hugh Casey, he'd spin him around like a yo-yo.
But you cannot intimidate Foster.
Greg Nettles and a runner ran into the ball. Tony Perez is going to be out as Nettles went right to the baseline to field it. The ball hit Perez.
Foster gets a hit out of it.
And that's going to be it at the end of 4 complete innings of play. Reds 2, the New York Yankees 1.
Tony, you're our resident expert on interference. Tell us about it.
I'll tell you what, with friends like you, I'm just getting the Cincinnati fans to say hi to me again after last year.
First pitch hitting, Chris Chambliss with a base hit to left field off Don Gullett. That's his second New York hit in the game. It's Cincinnati 2 and New York 1 in the top of the 5th inning. 3 Yankees were born in Ohio. Chris Chambliss, Thurman Munson, and Grant Jackson. Chambliss born in Dayton, the son of a Navy chaplain. So on at first base with the potential tying run is Chambliss, and here's Greg Nettles. Had a sacrifice fly to get in the New York run. Morgan will go to second. That's a double play.
The most underrated phase, I believe, of this entire Cincinnati ball club defense. The quickness of Morgan, and watch Davey Concepcion make Chambliss get on down. Look at the agility of Concepcion. They are so quick, and here's Joe Morgan starting it from the other side. He takes a lot of pride, Marty, in his defensive ability. He's worked hard at it.
That he does, Tony, and interesting the way he was playing Chris Chambliss. Really pulled over toward first base, but still had plenty of time to get the ball to Concepcion and on for a double play.
Tony, I got to believe the best defensive infielder has is when he submarines that ball like Concepcion did, because, boy, if you're a base runner, you got to get down before you see the whites of their eyes.
Elliot Maddox 0 for 1, a bouncing ball to third to retire the Yankees in the second inning. Got it down and into the right-handed batter, a call strike.
Marty, we talked about the Yankees using the electronic devices as far as setting their defense. That's George Scherger's responsibility. He has a chart down in the dugout, and he moves the defense around for Sparky Anderson. Rely on a lot of the information they got from Ray Shaw and Rex Bowen. What a great shot. Queen City.
Just outside the stadium here, as a matter of fact. The Ohio River. Now Rose pulled well off the line for Maddox, and that's going to be an extra base hit. The ball takes a carom coming off of that wall in foul ground. Maddox is going to try for a triple.
He had some trouble running. You could see the injury. He had a knee operation. He got to second base. He was about running out of gas. Almost had to pull into the pits for repairs. But watch him run, and you can pick up that limp. There it is.
We talked about the Cincinnati speed an awful lot, but with Maddox, White, Randolph, they also have good speed on the base pass.
Maddox taking a page out of the Pete Rose book with a head-first slide.
Tremendous tribute to this young fella. He had to work hard. He was out all year and coming back and played in pressure ball games. It's not just another ball game. He played in only 18 games this year.
Willie Randolph, who played against Cincinnati last year in postseason play, but in a different uniform. Strike to him. He was with the Pittsburgh Pirates and faced the Reds while with that club in last year's National League playoff. One ball and one strike with two out in the Yankee fifth inning. They trail the Reds by a run, but have Maddox at third base.
Talked about Maddox's physical problems, Joe. He had some other problems aside from that. He and Billy Martin were very outspoken that they did not like each other.
2 balls and 1 strike.
Because Martin's got that great theory like Casey Stengel. You keep the 5 guys who hate you away from the 5 guys who are undecided.
Billy learned well from old Case.
Outfield playing Maddox the other way, or rather Randolph. He goes to dead center field, but Geronimo is there, and that's the inning. Cesar Geronimo with the inning-ending catch on Willie Randolph at the end of 4 1/2. Reds 2, Yankees 1.
Event. I might say the baseball world, we take Yogi Berra, Gene Mauch, Ed Sudol, Ron Luciano to the opera.
They sing?
You'll have to watch to see.
Johnny Bench for openers in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's 2-1 Cincinnati. Alexander missing down and away with a breaking ball to Bench, who hit into a double play his first time. Coming back toward us and dropping just downstairs. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Bench, Marty, seemed to be swinging the bat a little bit better near the end of the season and through the playoffs against Philadelphia.
Much better, Tony, especially against Philadelphia. He made good contact time and time again. Man suffered through a very, very rough season in 1976 offensively, but I don't think anybody can ever question his ability to do the job behind the plate. It certainly did not affect his defensive game. Pitch away from getting a walk.
Bench had a shoulder injury part of last year. How much is a carryover for this year?
Well, the batting instructor for the Reds, Ted Kluszewski, felt like that Johnny got into some bad habits last year as a result of the shoulder problem that he could not get out of this past season.
I think he was going for downtown.
Trying to make it 3-1.
Yes, he was. That's a bad ball, high fastball, but if you're going to swing, that's the way to swing.
Count holding at 3 balls and 2 strikes on Johnny Bench.
Hey, Bill White over in the radio booth. We'll be working with Scooter, won't we, when we get to Yankee Stadium?
Right.
Rizzuto?
Bench hits the ball well, and Mickey Rivers will have to play it on a hop.
Well, that's when Johnny hits fast. When he goes to right center field with an outside pitch or dead center field, allows him to wait a little bit longer. Here's Johnny. You think he isn't going to challenge an arm if the ball's bobbled in center field? Every guy in this Reds ball club, whoops, they leave home plate. Everything's a double.
I think you're going to see that quite a bit, Tony, because as you pointed out earlier, the Reds feel like they can run on the Yankee arms in the outfield. Johnny took the big turn at first base, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of that throughout the course of the series. Cesar Geronimo, the batter. Ball to him. Had a super year in 1976. In fact, hit over 300 for the first time in his professional career. Got some activity now in the Yankee bullpen, as the count goes to 2-0 on Geronimo. Left-hander Grant Jackson is working. Shadows are now beginning to creep into Riverfront Stadium. That could be a pair. And the Yankees have pulled off their second double play of the game.
Willie Randolph, the best defensive player on this Yankee ball club. He could be the best all-around athlete. He's been hurt off and on this year, but he has great range right and left. If he gets a pivot on the double play, Marty, you will see him hang in there like nobody. You can't scare him.
Here's Davey Concepcion, who tripled to left center field back in the 3rd inning and came in to score the tie-breaking run in this game. Alexander shaking off Munson's first sign. And as Concepcion shortens up on the bat, the count evens at 1-1.
They don't do that too often to Thurman. He has a great rapport with his pitching staff. They think alike. They respect his judgment. He studies hitters.
That one hit off the end of the bat. Stanley in a close play at first base gets it on to Chambliss to retire Concepcion and end the inning. Through 5 complete, it remains the Reds over the Yankees 2-1. With the number 9 batter in the Yankee order, Fred Stanley leading it off. Stanley looked at a called 3rd strike in the 3rd inning, his only time up. Gullit gets a fastball in, the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Very steady shortstop for the New York Yankees this season. 110 games, only 8 errors. I guess this guy really underrated in the Yankee scheme of things by other ball clubs.
It's been important, Marty, for the Yankees to have the same kind of defense every ball game, especially for Willie Randolph, the youngster, working with the same shortstop day in, day out, instead of changing from Mason to Stanley. It's improved their defense up the middle tremendously.
Tony, I once read that Joe McCarthy used to want his second baseman and shortstop even warm up together so they learned the mannerisms.
Casey Stengel felt the same way. You room together, you threw together, had them malted together.
Gullit falling behind, 3 balls and 1 strike. Babyface left-hander from Lynn, Kentucky. Three and 2, the count on Fred Stanley. And that's the first walk given up by Don Gullett as Stanley starts off the 6th inning.
Walk the number 9 hitter.
Lou Piniella at the bat rack in the New York Yankee dugout. There's Billy Martin, their skipper. Johnny Bench has gone out to the mound to talk with Don Gullett as Mickey Rivers, their leadoff hitter, comes up for the 3rd time. He struck out swinging on a high fastball in the 1st inning, and then Gullett got him to tap out to Morgan in the 3rd. Takes it with him, but Gullett plays, and they get the lead runner on the throw to Concepcion.
That is something that the entire Cincinnati Reds ball club does better than anybody. They always keep the force in order. They always get the lead runner. Look at Gullett bounce off the mound very quickly. He knows Stanley does not run as well as Rivers. They are a super club, keeping the force situation all the time.
Mr. Rickey, as we look at Sparky Anderson, Mr. Rickey used to always say, to win, on defense, you have to keep the double play in order. On offense, stay away from it by hitting behind the runner. And you saw a good example because that's as good a fastball as he's thrown today. Gullett threw it to Concepcion.
So with 1 out now and 1 on, here's Roy White.
Marty, it's got to be tough for Rivers if he's thinking about stealing because Gullett gets rid of that ball so fast. He's got, now it's called a quick release. When I was playing, he just got rid of it.
I'm sure that's the scouting report the Yankees have on him, Joe, and he probably has the quickest move to the plate, delivery to the plate of anybody on the Reds pitching staff. 1 ball and 1 strike on White.
Johnny Bench does something as we look at Roy White. Most catchers, when they catch the ball with a base-stealing threat on, will be ready to throw. Bench, as much as defies you, goes down to his knees as if to say, if you want to run, I'll give you a little start and I'll gun you out.
White has hit the ball well both times, but all he has to show for it is an 0 for 2 afternoon. 2 balls and a strike.
It's interesting. You mentioned that point, Joe, and I was watching as Bench gave the sign to Gullett. While he was putting the fingers down, he wasn't looking at Gullett. He was looking at Rivers take his lead to see maybe a little mannerism that may, or a little extra aggressiveness that may tip off a steal.
That shot right there that you see, a good catcher, and Bench is certainly that, has got one eye going down each foul line. One at the runner, and his left eye is going down the Hauser.
Mickey Rivers with an outstanding stolen base percentage. He attempted 50 this season. He was successful 43 times. .860 the percentage. He's off. Bench throwing. They got him. Johnny Bench to Joe Morgan, and it was a no-contest play at second base.
And this is a picture throw. Rivers gets a good jump. He's watching the ball all the way, and watch Morgan just put it on him. Watch Bench's balance as he gets it. His glove goes out like a bow and arrow from the top, and that ball just seems to bend in the middle. He stretched that glove hand out there, and it was there in plenty of time. Room service.
Can I disagree with you?
What?
I don't think he got a good jump at all. And Bench knew he took his time.
Oh, he had about 4 steps, Tony.
All right.
But Don Gullett can direct full attention now to the batter Roy White as he gets a strike in a full count.
You don't think a catcher's ever going to have a bad game on my broadcast?
I know it.
Geronimo trying to flag it down and does. No, he dropped the ball. Roy White will go to second base. Cesar Geronimo had that ball in left center field. In fact, it appeared to be a routine play, but for some unexplainable reason, then coughed it up.
He got a great jump on the ball, Marty, to start with, and then he just outran the ball. He caught the ball almost behind him. Now he starts nonchalanting it. Look at that, right off his stump. He won't do that very often if he's ever done it this season. White kept on running. He made it a 2-base error. Here you go. Ellie Howard must have said, hey, he's got it, Roy. There he takes up again.
Well, as you pointed out, Tony, it's something that Geronimo will do very, very rarely. Had problems with balls hit shallow in the outfield at times this season, but that particular ball is a ball that 99 out of 100 times he's going to play, and it's been scored a 2-base error.
This is when this guy's tough as Munson, the man in scoring position.
The Yankees hoping to take advantage of the center fielder's error. They trail by 1 run. Now let's see if they'll send White to the plate. They give him the stop sign, and a good thing they did. was a sharp line drive single to right field by Thurman Munson. Ken Griffey with an excellent arm, and Dick Hauser showed very wise judgment in holding White up at third base.
With 2 outs, ordinarily they'll keep that runner going on artificial surface, and Griffey being positioned perfectly. Hauser wisely did hold him up. Boy, he is a good outfielder, Marty. He doesn't get enough credit for that.
I don't think he does, Tony. He really put on a defensive exhibition in Philadelphia in the playoffs against Danny Ozark's club. We're going to get some business underway in the Cincinnati bullpen for the first time this afternoon. Time Gullett will be working to Lou Piniella with runners at first and third. That's Pedro Bourbon. And he's going to be joined in that Reds bullpen by a left-hander, Will McEnany. Ball hit well to right field, but a foul ball. Umpire along the right field line, American League Dave Phillips, indicating foul as that ball goes down into the corner.
The Yankees appear now with that Gullett fastball tailing away from right-handed hitters to be going that way. Wonder if they'll force Gullett to come inside a little bit more where they can wail away and start pulling the ball. Yankee batting, or their offense, is a much better team offensively against right-handed pitching. Left-hander, you remove Gamble from the lineup and Carlos May.
Now Sparky Anderson going with another left-hander in the night game tomorrow night. Freddie Norman will be pitching. 1 hit and 2 times up for Lou Piniella. Morgan's got it. And the Reds are out of the Yankee threat in the 6th inning. So we have completed 5.5 innings of play in game 1. The Reds 2, the Yankees 1. Stadium from the Red seats, the upper deck in this ballpark. Bottom of the 6th inning, and Doyle Alexander will have to concern himself with the top of the Cincinnati batting order. Pete Rose bluffing a bunt as Alexander bounces one up there.
Boy, as we saw that panoramic shot, I kept thinking of the great thing it is in World Series, and this for NBC is the 30th year, and our director Harry Coyle, 30 years of directing, and we're going to be showing some highlights, like we're going to show you a highlight from a game 1 of the many years that NBC has been covering World Series.
1 ball and 1 strike. Rose is 0 for 1. He flied to center in the 1st inning, but his fly ball to Mickey Rivers in center in the 3rd got the tie-breaking run across. 2-1 the count.
Will the Cincinnati Reds ever adjust to the style of pitcher that Doyle Alexander is? He is not throwing hard sinkers, slow curves, changes speeds.
That one will find its way back into the seats behind the Yankee dugout third base side. Gives you a good idea right there of the extreme concentration this man, Pete Rose, exhibits game in and game out. It gives you an idea, I think, a partial idea of what's made him such an outstanding hitter in this game. Alexander dealing the 2-2 pitch. Tony, in answer to your question a moment ago, Doyle Alexander, his style of pitching, the off-speed pitcher, is a kind of pitcher that can give the Reds a lot of trouble. Rose has walked to begin the home half of the 6th inning, making 2 walks on the day by Doyle Alexander.
What phenomenal on-base percentages those first 3 hitters in the Cincinnati lineup had, led by Joe Morgan.
So Ken Griffey stepping in as Rose walks. Griffey is lined to left field. He has also popped up to third base.
Nettles in close looking for a bunt, but your club doesn't bunt a whole lot during the season.
Griffey with his good speed beats the throw to first base as the Yankees bid to get their 3rd double play.
Great shot down at second base of Pete Rose. He does what so many of these Cincinnati guys do, breaking up a double play. But watch Willie Randolph as Rose comes out to get him. No chance for a double play, but he hangs in there. He makes the pivot. He gets rid of the ball. Watch this. You think it's easy down at second base? Especially if you're second base, because he's coming from behind you. He stays right with it, doesn't he, Randolph?
That Rose, he did everything to break it up. About put a Windsor knot in Randolph's knee.
What a shot from that left center field camera. That is one tough kid down there.
Marty, it's interesting what Morgan does to the base runners when they want to run. He gives them the sign.
He does, Joe, because he does not like to know, does not like a runner going unless he knows about it beforehand. First pitch is in on him for a ball. It creates a tremendous distraction in Joe's case, and he's very vocal about it. And if the runner is going to be going, on cue from Sparky Anderson to George Scherger to the runner, in this case Ken Griffey, Joe Morgan wants to know about it in advance. Ball and 1 strike. Morgan a home run in the first inning to right field. He fly to left in the fourth. 8 of the 9 Red starters in double figures in steals. The only one not, Pete Rose, and he swiped 9 bases.
I think if I were catching after watching Scherger, I'd pitch out.
Well, Alexander throws to first base against a man who had 34 stolen bases this season. Two balls and 1 strike, and you have to feel that maybe Doyle Alexander is thinking just a bit about Ken Griffey at first base.
There's Scherger. I asked Munson, the Yankee catcher, what he wants his pitchers to do to help him out. For the base field, he said, pick them off. That's my only chance. If they're going to go, they're going to steal it, and it's tough to throw any of them out.
If he keeps throwing that lollipop like he just did here, there's no way. He better throw to third and head him off at the pass.
The Reds have a great percentage, successful percentage of stolen bases. They rarely get thrown out by anybody. They have good stealing days against guys like Yeager and Brody. There's a Morgan waiting on the 2-2 pitch with Griffey at first base. Reds have attempted 1 stolen base earlier in the game. Tony Perez thrown out in the first inning. Alexander continues to work that way. Cincinnati getting single runs in the first and third. The Yankees scored their run in the second. Oakland, California's Joe Morgan. Alexander stepping back off the pitching rubber, but Griffey giving no ground at first. And the Yankee right-hander as far as he can go with Morgan. 3-2 now. Marty, Thurman Munson in his meeting, his pre-World Series meeting with his pitching staff said, listen, if you want to throw over to first base for the base leaders, go ahead. Do it a few times, but then forget him. You concentrate on the hitter, because that guy's the guy who can hurt you with a bat in his hand. Well, against this Cincinnati club, that's excellent advice. Griffey's going. Morgan strikes out, and Griffey's going to be safe at second base on the low throw from Munson to Stanley.
Munson's throw, he got rid of that ball. Watch where he gets the ball and watch where he releases it. It's low, and he'll throw it from about there. Sidearm. And that ball has to sink. In contrast to Johnny Bench's throw, from the top, Munson throws it sidearm, and Stanley did a good job getting in front of it.
2 away now in the inning, and that strikeout of Joe Morgan is Doyle Alexander's first in the game. He'll be facing Tony Perez, who has been the #1 tormentor against Alexander today. He singled in the first inning and then double to left field in the fourth. That's a base hit to left field. Griffey getting the green light, and Tony Perez doing it for the Cincinnati Reds this afternoon. It's now 3-1. The guy who has been either very, very good or very, very weak in World Series play, Perez. In 1970, he was 1 for 18. In 1972, hit on a .435 clip. And last year was 5 for 28 at 179, but 3 of those 5 hits were home runs. Sparky Lyle, Dick Tidrow, double-barrel action in the New York Yankee bullpen. Designated hitter Danny Dreesen a call strike. Tidrow the right-hander, Lyle the left-hander for the Yankees. Tidrow's arm has got to be hanging. He put in a lot of innings against Kansas City. That one's going to be played by Thurman Munson. The Yankees get out of the inning, but the Reds with a run. And as we have completed 6 innings of play, it's Cincinnati 3 and New York 1.
Gibson has tied World Series record.
Storm and Norman at the plate. Norm Cash.
1968, Bob Gibson, new World Series record. There it is, 16 strikeouts.
Willie Horton.
There it is, Bob Gibson, 17 Tigers. As we look back, 1968. We'll be doing that throughout the series. NBC for 30 years. We've been covering World Series, and we'll be looking back at different highlights. It's Chris Chambliss, swings and misses, strike one. Chambliss bounced out second to first, then single to left, and was rubbed out in a double play. Good fastball.
Joe, the ironies of baseball, Chris Chambliss could well be in a Cincinnati uniform today. In 1967, he was drafted 29th by the Reds, did not sign, and was redrafted by Cincinnati again in 1968.
He just got hit with a pitch ball, so that puts him on, and that brings up the tying run. It's 3-1.
Watch him take this pitch properly. I think another interesting story, Joe, when Chambliss was acquired in that deal from Cleveland, a lot of the Yankees were very outspoken, saying he's not worth getting for what we gave up. He proved his worth in that 5th game against Kansas City and all season long.
Gabe Paul had quite an answer for all those charges. He said, number one, I'm breaking up the country club, and number two, I don't see in any player's contract where they have a right to make a deal. This is Greg Nettles. High fastball, ball one.
Marty, late in the ball game, he hasn't pitched that many innings this year. Has he weakened?
Lately, no, Tony. He has been very, very strong. His last start out against the Phillies in the playoffs, he was throwing as hard probably in the last couple of innings as he was early.
We're in the top of the 7th. Cincinnati leading 3-1. Nobody out. Chambliss at first. Could be two. Morgan. Oh, he fakes it, throws it, makes the double play himself. He faked it like he was going to flip it to Concepcion, put the tag on Chambliss, and then flip to Perez with a double play.
Chambliss made a mistake trying to beat him. He maybe should have tried to go around him, but either way, with Nettles running, they were going to get a double play. That'll show you the alertness of a Joe Morgan. Like a boxer.
Tony, I guess there's only 2 ways to break up that play. If you can think fast enough to get caught in a rundown, and then they'll throw to first and get you back, or just collide with the guy.
Slide into him. Once he's got the ball in his possession, you can knock him over.
You said that about an infielder?
I wouldn't say about a shortstop. Second baseman.
Here is Elliot Maddox. He bounced out third to first, and then he tripled. He's 1 for 2. High ball one. 2 outs, nobody on. Cincinnati leading 3-1. We're in the top of the 7th.
From up here, Joe, it hasn't appeared that Gullett has thrown a whole lot of off-speed pitches. He has 1 or 2 I can recall, or even breaking balls. Because it's hard to tell the slider and the fastball from up here.
But it's a hard slider. It's not an off-speed pitch. Fastball high. 2 balls and 1 strike. Gullett in 1976 started 20 games and completed only 4.
He's getting the ball a little bit up now. That last breaking ball hung up in the strike zone high.
That's out of play. 2 balls and 2 strikes. At home, Gullett has an amazing record. Last 2 seasons, he was 10-1 here at Riverfront in 1975, 6-1 in 1976. His combined road record for the 2 years, 10-5. 2-2 pitch. Out of play.
He's throwing hard.
Yes, he is.
Marty, we mentioned earlier that Gullett is playing out his option, is not signed. What's the rumor, or what have you heard? Is he about ready to sign?
Well, there have been some comments lately, Tony, that would seem to indicate that maybe the Reds will be fortunate enough to sign Don Gullett for 1977. He was quoted a couple of days ago as saying he would like to think that the two parties could get together on a contract for next season, but nothing officially and by any nature.
Curveball misses. It's a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Elliot Maddox.
Gullett's taking a little more time now between pitches, trying to get his breath. Sparky's got 2 guys going in the pen. Barbone and McEnany.
Here's the 3-2 pitch. Ball 4. He walked him. Gullett seems to be walking around the mound more, rubbing up the baseball. There are a couple little telltale signs that pitchers have. Start to change the baseball. It doesn't feel good. They'll walk around the mound, start to kick at the rubber.
When they start looking in the dugout, you know they're in trouble.
Or in the bullpen. Start looking that way, you better start looking in your mailbox for your release. Here's Willie Randolph. Low, and it's ball 1. There's a good close-up of Don Gullett as Larry Shepard, the pitching coach, comes out. How could you holler at a kid who looks like that?
Gullett pitched just 11.
Larry Shepard walking off. Fans didn't seem to know what to do, whether to cheer or what. 1 ball, no strikes, 2 outs. Cincinnati leading 3-1. We're in the 7th. Randolph with Maddox at first. Low again. 2 balls, no strikes. He's changing the baseball. When Shepard went out there, a lot of times he'll ask a basic question, the pitching coach will, and really doesn't listen for the answer, but more how the answer comes out. Because many times a pitcher, when he's in trouble, will become a hope pitcher. I hope I get the ball over. I hope he hits it. I hope they catch it. And I hope I can finish the game. Ball 3. Gotta believe if he loses him, he's gone.
Boy, that would be losing it in an awful hurry. I think the Cincinnati Reds pitching staff, above anybody else on this team, have something to prove. They have been maligned. Everybody says they're mediocre. They'd like to prove something in this series.
That's true, Tony. I guess every team the Reds play, the first thing they say is if the club has a weakness, it's its pitching staff. And, of course, Sparky Anderson is one who relies greatly on his bullpen. His theory is if his starting pitcher can give him 6 or 7 good innings, there's Sparky Anderson, he's going to get somebody else in there to finish it up.
3 balls, 2 strikes. The Yankees have a pinch hitter on the on-deck circle. Should Randolph get on? Maddox is on at first. 2 men out. Here's the payoff pitch. Ball 4, walked him. Maddox goes down to second. Randolph goes to first. And it looks like Otto Velez will be a pinch hitter for Fred Stanley. Sparky Anderson looking on.
Sparky just waiting for the pinch hitter Velez to be announced. Then he is officially in the ball game. You may see him jump out very quickly. But if he does that and changes to a right-hander, you better believe that Carlos May or Oscar Gamble are going to grab a bat.
Joe Morgan's standing out there waiting for the official announcement.
Sparky's, I guess he's been announced. Sparky's now saying, hey, who do we want to pitch to, Velez or see May or Gamble? He'd rather pitch to Velez.
Here they go. Velez, 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in, hitting .266. He had a cut at a fastball, strike 1. Maddox at second. Randolph at first. Cincinnati 3, Yankees 1. We're in the 7th. Strike 2. Boy, Velez is doing what a pinch hitter should, go up there and hack.
He had a high breaking ball to hit that time. That's Sugar. Sparky Anderson's first manager in baseball, the minor leagues.
Two-strike pitch. Ball 1. Sparky Anderson and George Sugar. There is Sparky Anderson as the coach for the San Diego Padres. Memories. 1-2 pitch. Struck him out. Don Gullett needed a strikeout, and he got it. The first strikeout, he just reared back and loaded the wagon. That ends the inning. We go to the bottom of the seventh. And a football game, and then the big event. The baseball world, Joe Garagiola starts it, and we'll take you to the opera as we look at Jim Mason, the new shortstop. 12:30 Eastern Time with Grandstand, and 6 regional NFL games, so check your listings for the game in your area, and then we're part of the big event. Sunday night game. Line drive, base hit, Foster. Bobbles it, Foster makes a turn, but he's going back.
When you're in the outfield, it's got to cause you a few anxious moments if you know your throwing arm is not that strong, and you know the Cincinnati Reds runners are running right from home plate. The Reds force a lot of mistakes.
Johnny Bench with Foster at first. Foster stole 17 times, 20 attempts. Low ball one. He doesn't get much of a lead at all. Best way you can measure it here, it's easy, is how far does he get on the artificial surface, and Foster doesn't.
What a hole Bench has got between Randolph and Chambliss. He can go that way on occasion, and Sparky will hit and run once in a while with him.
Line drive, right field. Nobody's going to get this one. Off the wall. Foster is heading for third. The ball gets past Maddox. Foster's going to try to score. Bench is heading for third. He'll make it. A triple for Johnny Bench.
Billy Martin pops out very quickly from the Yankee dugout. Bench placed that ball, Joe, with power. He was going that way all the way, and he got his pitch. Maddox, as we watch the play again, not familiar with the ballpark here in Cincinnati. Not playing the game quite right. He slipped. He's got those bad knees. Ball got on him a little bit quicker than he thought it would. Then showing excellent base running judgment.
Tony, he tried to shoot that gap as we look at Billy Martin talking to Alexander. He's going to make a move. Sparky Lyle is coming in. So there's a break in the action with the score here. Cincinnati 4, the Yankees 1. It's a very delicate situation, we understand. Right now, Sparky Lyle with Johnny Bench on third. Nobody out, 1 run in, 4-1. Cincinnati out in front, and Geronimo is the batter. Strike one. Lyle led the American League in saves as we look at Bench at third base. 1976, Sparky had 23 of them. He won 7, lost 8. 64 games, 2.26 earned run average. Left by Munson. Here comes Bench. He'll make it. Munson can't find it. It's a 5-1 ball game.
Wild pitch charge to Lyle.
Wild pitch charge to Sparky Lyle.
This is not the kind of situation when Lyle is throwing right that he would ordinarily come in on. He would usually come in late in the ballgame when his club is tied or ahead. They say he has lost his slider. That's what he just bounced. Munson makes a good try to block it, but it gets away off the heel of his glove. Lyle, I believe, is in Billy Martin's doghouse. Of course, when you don't pitch well, it's easy to get in the doghouse.
Looping base hit, left center field. Maybe extra bases. This guy can fly, but Rivers cuts it off, and Geronimo has himself a double. Nobody out. 2 runs are in. 5-1 Cincinnati in the bottom of the 7th with Geronimo at second base.
Joe, I think that the Reds are playing on a great deal of emotion today, and generated not so much, or in addition to the fact this is the first game of the World Series, but by virtue of an article that appeared in the Cincinnati Morning newspaper, Billy Martin's comparison position by position, and it seemed to upset a number of the Reds players in that they felt like they were slighted in favor of the New York Yankee ball players.
High to Concepcion. I got to believe, though, that they would certainly Take note of the author. I don't think Billy Martin's going to say that they're a better ball club. Concepcion had a good cut. 1 ball, 1 strike. Geronimo at second.
Joe, the Yankees came into this World Series under not ideal circumstances. Their pitching staff is highly regarded. Their 3 top pitchers, Hunter, Figueroa, and Doc Ellis, are not able to start a very important game, the first game of the series. And it's almost as though, and this is not a knock at Doyle Alexander, who pitched well, they throw a guy out there to get their other pitchers a few days rest.
I tell you, he didn't do too badly. He left the game. He held them for 6 innings, 3-1. He hold this ball club. Tim McCarver made quite a statement. When we were doing the pregame show, he said, you can't stay close to Cincinnati. They'll beat you. You can't win those 3-1, 2-1 games. You got to win 10-6. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Struck him out. Foul tip held on to by Thurman Munson. So there's 1 away. Sparky Lyle will have to face Pete Rose, who switches around to the right side.
Hall of Famer Bob Lemon, Billy Martin back in the corner. Marty, I think you can attest to this. There are very few ball clubs with the way Sparky uses bullpen that can come back when they're down in the late innings against Cincinnati.
That's true, Tony. Now we're getting ready to go to the 8th after the Reds hit here, and that gets to be Raleigh Eastwick time. Sparky Anderson does not like to bring him in if he can help it any earlier than the 8th inning, and would like to be able to run him out in the 9th inning to nail a game down. And we're getting to that point right now.
Bouncing ball, Mason. To Chambliss, they get Rose, and Geronimo moves on over to third. 2 outs, 2 runs in, 5-1, Cincinnati leading. Here is Ken Griffey.
Good example of the kind of base runners this club is and what their speed does. Ordinarily, ball it to the left side, they hold second base. Your ball club, Marty, just keeps on going.
Well, I think Joe said it earlier. They force things to happen, Tony. This ball club will try and take advantage of every mistake, whether it be a mental mistake or a physical mistake. They're going to try and burn you with it.
Outside, ball 1. Geronimo at third. Griffey, who Kluszewski simply says is just Ralph Garr with power. That says a lot. 1 ball, 1 strike. Griffey, great speed. At the winning RBI in game number 3 of the championship series. Hep foul. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Griffey has that great downward chop on the ball for the artificial surface as we look at Morgan, and also to take advantage of his speed. Pound it in the dirt and take off. That first step out of the box, he's in full gear.
Sparky Lyle in relief of Doyle Alexander. 5-1 Cincinnati. Bottom of the 7th. Chased the bad ball, and that's all for Griffey. So that ends the inning, but the Reds scored 2. At the end of 7, it's Cincinnati 5, New York 1. It's kind of interesting. Everybody going down to Commissioner Kuhn's box to try to get a statement. High, ball 1. That was Augie Borgie, the New York Daily News. Going to have to be some official announcement here because, I tell you, boy, Commissioner Kuhn getting on the hotline now, picking up the phone, talking to somebody. The ball is popped up. Johnny Bench, who can really catch those foul balls, has got it. Steel trap. Boy, he does that so well, Marty.
Probably better than anybody in the National League, Joe. The guy simply can do it behind the plate. I don't know that you can say enough about Johnny Bench to really give him credit for the defensive work.
Have you ever seen him miss a pop foul?
I've never seen him miss one in 3 years.
Same with Joe. He never missed it.
Good thing I'm humble. Here is Roy White, who's hit the ball hard all day today, but he's 0 for 3. You may have noticed some tape around Johnny Bench's left thumb. It's just swollen, bruised, one of those, what would you call it, I guess, hazards of the job. There's a base hit. Roy White singles the left field. Foster plays the big hop, and Roy White is on. Johnny Bench is going out to talk to Gullett, and here comes the Cincinnati trainer as we look at Roy White at first base. Larry Starr is the trainer, and here comes Sparky Anderson now. What do you think, Marty?
I don't really. It looks like now he indicates something is wrong with his right ankle, Joe, and apparently it's something that's just come up because Don has had no point in the season when your pitching staff is dog-tired. Sparky Anderson can turn to Pedro Bourbon.
Thurman Munson is in the batter's box, and we've got a pinch hitter coming out of the Yankee dugout, a pinch hitter for Piniella. Munson is 1 for 3. Takes it high and inside, ball 1.
McEnany continues to throw, and now the guy that you talked about earlier, Raleigh Eastwick, has gotten up. This is usually his time in the ball game.
Foul ball out of play. There you see him. Raleigh Eastwick is the right-hander. Will McEnany is the left-hander. Boy, they were really the Gold Dust Twins last year, weren't they?
That they were.
There you see Roy White leading off. Tap down the third base line. Bourbon's going to have to hustle. Got him. Nice play by Bourbon. Munson running hard is out at first. Roy White takes second.
Munson runs fairly well. When you hit a ball like this, you don't get that good a jump out of the box. I'll tell you, who made a pretty good cheat job down at first base as Bourbon ranges far to his right. Tony Perez got off that base kind of quickly, like a bullfighter.
Here is Carlos May. He is the pinch hitter for Lou Piniella. He's been a designated hitter most of the year. Strong-looking hitter. Chokes up on that bat. Hit .259. 3 home runs, 43 runs batted in. Strike 1. Don Gullett had to lead the game. Bourbon is now the pitcher for Cincinnati. Line drive, right field. One-hand grab by Griffey. And that ends the inning. So we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning to score. Cincinnati 5, New York 1. Perez and Creason. A preliminary report from the Cincinnati clubhouse that Don Gullett sprained his right ankle. Here's Morgan. Hit a home run. Give the Cincinnati Reds a lead in the first inning. Takes it outside, ball 1. Fly to left and was out on strikes. Boy, there's a stream of reporters going down to see the commissioner. Now Will Grimsley, the AP's down there trying to get a report. As Morgan lines to Randolph. In case you joined us late, what happened? The sequence, Billy Martin talked to George Steinbrenner and Gabe Paul, who are seated in the official box. And with that, Gabe Paul got up, left, and went to talk to Commissioner Kuhn. 2 innings later, back he was, and it's supposedly, and it's an unconfirmed report that I'm giving you, a delicate situation involving technical equipment. They've also talked to Lee McPhail, who is the Lee Wire, the umpire. Talked to everybody except Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. 1 ball, 1 strike on Tony Perez. Good cut. He was going for downtown. Tony's had a big day today. He singled in the first inning, was out stealing, and he doubled in the 4th inning, and then he drove in a run in the 6th. He's 3 for 3.
The guy they're once again talking about trading. One of the most consistent RBIs, the most consistent in the National League over the past 10 years.
1 ball, 2 strikes. 1 man out. Bottom of the 8th inning, Sparky Lyle wants a new baseball. Cincinnati leading 5-1. Sparky with that chew of tobacco like he's got the mumps. Foul out of play.
What do you think Larry Bowa would do to him as he walked by? If I saw that disgusted look he gave Bench on your pregame show. Bench just had a little wad in.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Chased the bad ball. Perez is out on strikes. Munson has to tag him.
Tough part of the ball game to hit it. Now you can see the shadow has gone halfway between home plate and the pitcher's mound, and on a sunny day the hitters have difficulty picking the pitch up. They're going to score runs daytime here. Do it early.
Looked like that screwball, Tony. He turned it over. Danny Dreesen. He's 0 for 3. Strike is called by Lee Wire. Fastball. Once again, activity in the Cincinnati bullpen. Strike 2. Raleigh Eastwick. Looking ahead to the 9th. Chambliss, Nettles, and Maddox. Chambliss bobbles the ball, and Sparky Lyle turned into a spectator, and there's nobody there at first base. Sparky Lyle didn't cover first.
Dreesen runs very well. Chambliss was playing well off the line. He may have taken his eye off the ball. He might still have had time to throw him out had Sparky Lyle go over, although I doubt it because he was playing deep. Good thing he held on to the ball. Sparky just froze.
2 outs. And here is George Foster. Foster walked, single. High fly ball, left field. Roy White waiting, makes the play. So that ends the inning. And at the end of 8, it's Cincinnati 5, New York 1. We look at the commissioner's box, and he's on the telephone. The official announcement is, we get it from Bob Wers, and he's here to make sure I say it right as we watch the commissioner still on the phone. Bouncing ball, and Perez takes it, and Chambliss is out. The Yankees were given permission to use people in the upper deck with technical equipment to help them set up the defense. When it was set up, there were some variations as to what was previously agreed to, and the commissioner was not satisfied with the new setup, and so he withdrew his permission for the day. They'll have another meeting, cinch, and come up with something. So there's all the intrigue as we watch Greg Nettles. 1 out. Cincinnati leading 5-1. We're at the top of the 9th. Right at Tony Perez. One-hand grab. And there are 2 away. Ball was hit hard, but right at him.
Here's Nettles' line drive. Tony Perez, of course, playing deep for the left-handed batter and had to backhand that hard-hit liner just off the edge of the AstroTurf. Joe, we were talking yesterday about Tony Perez, one of the most underrated first basemen defensively in baseball.
That's what his manager says about him, and there you see him as we got a pinch hitter for Maddox. Oscar Gamble has come on to pinch hit with nobody on. 2 men out. Top of the 9th, Cincinnati leading 5-1. Borbone in relief of Gullett, who sprained his right ankle. Ball 1 outside to Gamble. Oscar Gamble. That got Lee Wire, the umpire, on the right shoulder. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gamble at 232 with 17 home runs. Watch the foul tip get Lee Wire. Right off the right shoulder. Boy, that hurts. High, ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. Lee Wire's a pretty good-sized target there. He's a big man. Popped up, foul territory. Drifting over Rose. May have a play. He does. Pete Rose makes the play. That ends the ball game, and the Cincinnati Reds win the first game of the World Series by the score of 5-1. There they are congratulating one another. Tony Perez, Morgan, Concepcion, Rose, and Sparky Anderson comes out. Larry Shepard. The Cincinnati Reds defeat the New York Yankees in the first game by the score of 5-1. Don Gullett was the starter, had to leave because of a sprained ankle. Gullett is now 2-1 in World Series competition, and Marty Heath did look fast out there. So, The Cincinnati Reds head to the clubhouse, and they are the victors, and we'll be right back with some interviews. Talk to the players right after this.